guys, welcome to another edition of Rant for Your Right. Today I'm here to talk to you about the changes made to the revamped Ontario Autism Program imposed by the Liberal Party and our Minister of Education, Kathleen Wynne. The Liberal government announced a new Ontario Autism Program with $333 million in funding, but changes include limiting intensive behavioral intervention to children between the ages 2 and 4. So families with children 5 and older on the IBI waitlist will get $8,000 to pay for treatment as they are cut off the waitlist. This has sparked a huge debate between parents of children with autism who depend on this treatment, and they say it's vital for their children's growth and development and reaching their full potential in life. By taking away this treatment offered to these kids, we are essentially limiting their dreams and goals and leaving their parents stranded with not a lot of alternatives. Kathleen Wynne thinks she can smooth over damage and angst that she's caused by throwing $8,000 to the parents of these kids for treatment. $8,000 wouldn't even pay to have an assessment done, and as one parent commented, they spend more than $5,000 a month on treatment, and $8,000 would not go very far at all. Some parents have even had to take out a second mortgage or move their families to one-bedroom apartments to pay for this treatment. What would you do if your child depended on this treatment to survive? How would you feel about a Minister of Education who would leave these poor children out in the cold while she spends money so carelessly? How can she stand there and say she cares about the future of Canada when she could do something so disgraceful and inhumane? In Kathleen Wynne's Ontario, it has become abundantly clear some groups and special interests are more important to her than others, as she plays favorites with people in society that she deems important, that serve her own political agendas, and those that she deems disposable. Just a week ago, the Premier released a statement indicating the province spent $500,000 towards relief following the earthquake in Ecuador, even though such assistance is usually federally allocated. Not saying I don't want to support the people in Ecuador or those affected by natural disasters around the world, but aren't there more far urgent matters that we could attend to in Canada first? In the weeks since the IBI therapy cuts, the Wynne government has also tossed $20 million at new electric vehicle charging stations to fight climate change, $12 million at homelessness, $14 million on grants for music groups, and more than $2 million on cycling infrastructure. All told, $52 million given out in the last few weeks alone could have purchased 2 years of IBI therapy for more than 400 severely autistic kids. Barrett, a trustee of the Durham District School Board, said the new age cap was a topic of discussion among colleagues at an association board meeting last weekend who worried about how schools faced with shrinking special education budgets and staff will be able to support these students. Over the last few days, unions representing teachers and EAs have begun to speak out about the decision. Nicole McKierney, spokesperson for the Education Ministry, did not indicate whether specific information or funding will be provided to school boards, but noted boards are responsible for allocating the funding for programming and services, and they are in the best position to determine the needs of their students at the local level. So why isn't this being done? Why are the budgets given to schools so generic? Shouldn't it be on a case-by-case basis? Shouldn't funds be allocated to each school based on the needs of the students that go there? In my opinion, the Minister of Education, Kathleen Wynne, has absolute power in the decision-making process of how and where the funds will be spent. Why is this? Why aren't principals, teachers, parents, students involved in deciding where the money goes? To be able to offer the programming these children need, we need to be giving funding into training teachers and increasing the number of EA support in our schools. I mean, the money is coming out of our taxes that we pay every year. Shouldn't we have a say in how it's used? One argument has to do with the effectiveness. Some people believe that if we are a part of the decision-making, we will have more of a willingness to abide by it if they have the chance to participate in it. We as teachers advocate to our students every year about being a part of making a classroom agreement and the rules so that children feel accountable and responsible and are more likely to participate and follow along. Well, why aren't the same rights and considerations being given to the parents of these children? Wouldn't they like to be a part of the decision-making? I wonder how this would affect how policies and laws regarding children are made, and would the interests of our students be better served? The second main argument for participation is a moral one. People have a right to participate in important decisions that affect them, regardless of whether their participation makes the process more effective or leads to be a better decision or results in consensus. However, over time in Canada, authority has shifted from school boards to provincial governments. Ministers have taken increased power over such matters as curriculum, assessment, and public reporting of student outcomes. EQAO. The Education Act stipulates that school boards have the legal obligation to provide special education programs and services to their exceptional kids. But we are cutting back programs that would help children with autism just because they are past the age of 5. Their learning and progress doesn't end just because they get older. These children need consistent and effective treatment. Adequate special education for every child is not a dispensable luxury. It is a must and a right for every student to be educated no matter what needs they require. In the case study of British Columbia versus Jeremy Moore, it revealed that a school board cannot simply cancel a program or treatment without offering alternatives to parents. It is the board's duty to make sure every child has what they need. Well, why aren't we using this same logic when it comes to the IVI treatments that these children so severely need? I mean, out of the standard budget the school gets every year, about $2.5 million of that is used in paying regular teaching staff and administration. And out of that $2.5 million, only $100,000 is used to pay for support staff like EAs and ECEs. This is outrageous. What a huge disservice. Some schools who are sharing one EA for an entire school and others that are requiring EA support for only children who pose physical risks and leaving out those kids that really need interventions educationally are really losing out. I digress. Bottom line is we need to have better, more equitable allocation of funding to school boards, and I believe we need to allow school boards, school administration, parents, and students more involved in the decision process of where the money is allocated. As for Kathleen Wynne, she has recently made statements that she now may reconsider decisions made about the new legislation and has remarked about possibly giving these families more than $8,000 that she had originally stated, but I'm not going to hold my breath. For Rant for Your Right, this is Kate Hickey signing off, and don't forget, you must rant for your right to make change. Thanks again.